Now that partners were selected, it was time for the task force to work together and identify strategies for change.
The task force met 4 times. We were very clear that we wanted it to be a concise, short-lived process. We had 4 meetings over a period of about 1 year. And at the end of 1 year, the group came up with 10 public policy recommendations, one of which was to create a fresh food financing initiative.
The Fresh Food Financing Initiative was selected from a list of recommendations made by the overall task force.
The Pennsylvania Fresh Food Financing Initiative was a public-private partnership launched in Pennsylvania in 2004, attempting to use state resources to lever public investments to close the food accessibility gap in various communities in Pennsylvania. Many low-income communities had a dearth of access for fresh foods.
This program to assist fresh food retailers in the development or expansion of their services relied on collaborations between partners from multiple sectors. Each partner contributed specific resources and skills. As a member of the task force, the Reinvestment Fund designed what became the funding structure of the Fresh Food Financing Initiative.
The Reinvestment Fund was able to bring to the problem our experience at designing capital solutions, fundraising and raising private capital, both debt capital and equity capital, to address issues of poverty, issues of blight, issues, the sundry issues facing low-income communities that are underinvested in. It was on the back of that level of experience that our friends, who became our partners in from the Food Trust and others, came to us to solve the problem of how can we lever some public support to the best effect. We designed a real wish list design program where we said, if you bring us $1, we will at least raise $3 from the private sector to finance and subsidize food retailing in these underserved communities. And the state blessed the plan.
Leveraging state and private dollars was made possible through the provision of initial funding by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
I think basically what the Commonwealth was able to invest was resources. Over a 3-year period, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania invested $30 million in a pool. And as a result of investing that money, I in return met with the Reinvestment Fund. And the Reinvestment Fund was able to generate another $146 million.
Grants and loans were made available to eligible fresh food retailers for the development and expansion of services in food deserts across the state. The Food Trust acted as gatekeeper to this target population through marketing of the funding opportunity, support services, and ongoing tailored communications.
In certain communities, we had the benefit of local organizations who already knew what their needs were. Sometimes this was a community development corporation. Sometimes it was merely a block group, a block captain, informal associations. Sometimes churches were the referral sources. And in many cases, because we were dealing with the whole state of Pennsylvania, it was local economic development agencies who knew that there were gaps in business segments like food retailing within their community. The Food Trust was our outreach agency. They did outreach, marketing, and community engagement for the first 3 or 4 years of the program, and they really connected us to the places which would be very difficult for us to reach. Punxsutawney, Erie, Pennsylvania, which are both logistically far away, but also they did the mapping of the influencers and the people who knew each different community best.
Once the program was off and running, the Food Trust played a role doing outreach to the grocers themselves, letting them know about the program, marketing the program, saying to them, hey, there's this great new opportunity. It's a flexible program. It won't be heavy bureaucratic. You know, we're here to help you through the process. And so we did a lot of hitting the ground and hitting the pavement and actually going around and meeting different folks throughout the state of Pennsylvania.
The task force continued to review both quantitative and qualitative data together to direct programmatic resources in the most effective manner. The collaboration worked to ensure that the communities and retailers chosen to receive funds were adequately prepared to do so.
We had qualitative measures in the beginning of our program, and that's where we used our partner, the Food Trust, to establish a study of each community in which we received an inquiry. And we subjectively assessed with boots on the ground what their current access was and what their appropriate level of access was. We did not respond to an applicant until they had been pre-qualified in the first few years of the program by the Food Trust. And the Food Trust qualified them based on an interview which established that this was a business that would actually deliver fresh foods, not just like a dry goods vendor or a dollar store which only had canned goods. They had to pass the test that they were providing a full array of fresh foods in all the different departments one would expect: dairy, meat, bakery, produce. They also had to be assessed based on the location that they were selecting or already in and wanted to expand. So the Food Trust, as we said, boots on the ground, would assess that, walk that neighborhood. And we had many instances where we went on field trips and found grocers nearby, other applicant grocers, and were unable to support with subsidy, scarce subsidy, the improvement of one business when there were many already in the neighborhood.
We would initially start by looking at data from our office, and that included trade dimensions data, which shows you where all the supermarkets are within an area, a trade area. We also looked at population and income data. We wanted to make sure that it qualified as what we defined as underserved. So we would start off by looking at the data. But then, of course, from there, we really wanted to do some ground truthing. And it was important, we learned it was very important through this eligibility assessment to also take it by a case-by-case basis, and not only look at it from the office, but to also go out, meet the grocer, see the store, if it was an existing store, or see the site if it was going to be a ground-up project. Get a sense of the town it's in or the rural area that it's in, and to learn about it also, in addition to looking at the data.
Selected fresh food retailers were provided continual support throughout every phase of implementation. The Food Trust acted as the participants' main ally, listening and communicating needs.
Communication between the folks that were applying to be part of the program and the Food Trust, and to the reinvestment fund as well, that was also very important. It was critical that they felt that they could contact our staff, that if they had a problem, that they knew who to call, that we actually cared about what they were doing. So even just that human piece, and communication is such a vital part of that, could really go a long way. And so we really tried our best to, even if it wasn't directly related to the program at all times, it could be even small issues that the grocers might want help with. For example, someone needing a left-hand turn light into their store, or it could be these very specific issues they might be handling, and they could say, do you know someone I could call? Just the fact that we could be an advocate for them. Sometimes that was as important as anything else to getting the grocers interested in working with us.
The Reinvestment Fund provided technical assistance to retailers receiving grants and loans. To that end, a new task force partner, the Urban Affairs Coalition, was introduced to assist grocers as they worked with contractors and construction companies. The UAC ensured underrepresented communities were provided access to economic opportunities resulting from the initiative.
Our role was to work with TRF to provide the project owner with essentially consulting services around creating jobs, being able to quantify the number of jobs that a project of these sizes and scales could produce, as well as be able to help the provider or help the project owner hire contractors that were from the community. So what that means is that we believe in inclusion, and inclusion really means different things, has different demographic meaning in different communities. So in a community such as Philadelphia, it could mean ensuring that more of the business is let to business owners who are minorities and women. It means ensuring that local residents have access to the jobs created by the new supermarket.
Applicants were now selected to receive funding, and activities were well underway with continual support from task force partners.